All right, the Eagle has landed. Guillermo, there's great news. Just now arriving at Hobby Airport for our good friend of the show, Victor Ariza. Argentina and Lionel Messi are here in Houston. I heard that there were journalists coming in last night. You're going to see a lot of Argentina. You're going to see a lot of blue and white striped jerseys all over Houston. This is an exciting week for the city of Houston, Texas, when it comes to sports. So Leo Messi and Argentina are here. They're going to play in the quarterfinals of the Copa America. That'll be July 4th. That would be Thursday night, and they will be taking on Ecuador in the quarterfinals. Messi sat out the last game. So the World Cup winners are here. The last Copa America winners are here. Wow. Ecuador drew with Mexico and got the ticket to advance. I'm sorry about that, Guillermo, as a big Mexico fan. That is not the way it was supposed to be drawn up. Tonight, Judgment Day for the U.S. men's national team. They must get it done against Uruguay to have a shot at advancing. And the microcosm of the U.S. soccer world is a bit on fire with the meltdown that occurred against Panama in the 2-1 loss. We're going to talk about the U.S. Uruguay tonight. We'll set you up with that. We got sound from Greg Berhalter, Christian Pulisic. The angst, there's a lot of angst towards the manager, Greg Berhalter, whose job by world standards would be on the line tonight. We'll see what happens with Mexico and Jaime Lozano. Nothing yet. I mean, honestly, they could lose tonight and he remains the coach. Then again, U.S. soccer is known for many strange decisions. Berhalter was asked about his job the other day, and we're going to play some of that sound tonight. 713-780-3776. As always, presented by John Daspit, the Daspit Law Firm. We stream at ESPN975.com. We're going to have all your updates, lineups for the U.S. and Uruguay to discuss if we get them. Not sure. We're going to be probably finishing the show about around the time they come out. But, Guillermo, we'll be looking for them. We go to Germany tonight, and we speak with Warren Barton, the excellent Fox analyst. He's a former defender for Newcastle. Great discussion with Warren. For full disclosure here, that was an interview tape this morning because he's over in Germany. He will have the call tomorrow of the Romania-Netherlands game. Believe it or not, Romania won their group. Big for them. And they will play the third-place Netherlands with Cody Gakpo, Virgil van Dijk, Memphis Depay in company. But it's a big moment for Romania, who, by the way, also drew very well at the Euros. Dynamo 1-0 winners over Charlotte on a fifth-minute goal. Aliou Ibrahim. We'll talk a little bit about that and where the Dynamo are heading into the summer. And today is not only the first day of the second half of the year, but it's the interesting sacred day in Major League Baseball. I'm sure probably Joel and Jeremy talked about that. So every July 1st, retired all-star third baseman Bobby Bonilla of the former Met receives a $1.1 million check from his former team, even though he hasn't played a Major League Baseball game in over 20 years. Okay, so the reason is in 2000, the Mets owned Bonilla. They owed him $5.9 million, but instead of taking that cash up front, Bonilla worked out a contract that spreads out $30 million in guaranteed payments to him through annual installments from 2011 to 2035. That's some good business right there. Good business. All right, so Mexico lost got past Jamaica in their first game, lost to Venezuela on a Rondon PK, drew Ecuador, and then, of course, have been eliminated. So if you got any thoughts on that, 713-780-3776, 713-780-3776 is the number to call in here tonight. So Mexico's out. They would have been here playing Argentina. People would have loved that. It would have been a rematch of the World Cup, which, if you remember, in Qatar, after Argentina got upset by Saudi Arabia, Mexico was in a position in Game 2. If they had knocked out Argentina or beaten Argentina, they would have knocked them out of the World Cup. And then, of course, Argentina went on to win it. And they are the favorites, without a doubt, in the Copa America. So wondering how you're feeling after, Guillermo, Mexico got knocked out in was pretty much a knife fight against Ecuador.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm surprised, but at the same time, this is a bad position to be in because you could say, oh, we can quote unquote hard reset. We need new players. We need new coach. That's what should have happened after the World Cup. Like that's what was supposed to happen. A hard reset, new players, new generation. We're going to do this 2 years prior to the next World Cup. It really is a difficult position to be in.
Fair points. We'll see. I mean, I think the big thing in Mexico is always the involvement of the federation and picking players. We always hear those rumors that they're picking the players. And after all, this is a money machine, the Mexican national team. Okay, that's why they play their games in the United States. They are an absolute money machine. And if fans, I hear fans complain about that all the time. Well, it's the federation. We need to do this and do that. The only way it'll ever change the corruption and all that goes on is if Mexican fans stop attending games in the United States, because this is where the money is. It will never happen because the Mexican fans know it's going to be a big party. It's going to be a great day. We're going to all be like-minded there. We're going to have our jerseys on. And with all due respect, it won't change until you hit them in the pocketbook. And sadly, that's the way of all sports. And that's not a dig at the Mexican fan, because the Mexican fans, some of the most passionate and prideful going. I mean, no question. I only wish we had 25% of that here in the U.S. I mean, we're getting there, but it's a slow grind. 713-780-3776 to talk here tonight. All right, so let's talk about Greg Berhalter. Now, Greg Berhalter was questioned in a press conference about his job security. He seemed pretty stunned here about this. But, for me, and this is nothing against Greg, because I met Greg. We had him here in studio. He was on with John and Lance in the morning. That was the Federation coming to me and saying, what can we do? Because the U.S. was playing down here. I said, bring Greg Berhalter or a player, and let's do the media rounds. And they were gracious. They brought him. This was at the beginning when he was dealing with a very young team. Now he's dealing with players that are a little bit more mature, and I have a point to make on that in a minute. But he was shocked that somebody, or either that or that this question got past the censors and the PR staff, but he was shocked that somebody was asking him about his job security. Here it is.
Greg, Lawrence Dockery, World Soccer Talk.
What's happening? What do we want to happen here?
All right. Prior to this Copa America, the U.S. had been to the Copa America 2 of the last 3 times they have been to the semifinals. If it happens where you fail to get out of the group on home soil, could and should your job be on the line against Uruguay?
Here's his answer.
That's not. I have a hard time understanding the question. I think you mean if we don't qualify for the next round, should my job be in the line? Yeah. That's not for me to determine. Doug, there you go. I'll call on you.
If you do need a win in that.
So, I mean, this is kind of a microcosm of the reality of where we are in the United States when it comes to media and healthy pressure. And again, I'm not, I don't like seeing anybody lose their job. Okay? I don't. But this is professional sports, professional soccer. And around the world, the job of the coach is questioned constantly. So I don't know if that means we still remain in kind of this mom and pop area of media attention and the way things work. And that pressure and that healthy pressure, and I've talked about this forever on this show, is an asset into growing players and or the sport. So, I found that very, very interesting about Greg Berhalter. Now, if you got thoughts out there, let's have them tonight, because I do believe that, there's a lot of people. It's a hot button topic here now, Greg Berhalter, and the navigation of a tournament, seeing the U.S. I wanted to see the U.S. win these first 2 games. Be comfortable going into this game tonight, knowing that we advanced. Be comfortable, go in the next round on our terms. Instead, once again, it's life and death for us in the final game. All right, let's go to the phone line, 713-780-3776, 713-780-3776 to Rob.
Hey, Glenn, it's Rob Zip. Hey, I think if Gio Reyna comes out, we won't do well. They need to keep him in the match because he's like a good luck charm. And
he wasn't very good. He wasn't a good. Whoa! He wasn't a good luck charm, Rob, against Panama. He was a ghost against Panama, and that's the kind of game you need him in, a physical game there where we needed to get on the ball a little bit.
Yeah, but if Tim Weah didn't lose his mind, I think we would have beat Panama.
I find that a fallback position. You mean you can't win a game with 10 men? You can't win a game with 10 men when you go up 1-0? Come on. Come on, Rob. We're bigger than that, aren't we?
Well, hopefully they can take care of it tonight. I know it's going to be a hard test against Uruguay. Oh, that's my cat. And one day we got to collaborate on something, Glenn. Our fans like each other, so.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, listen, Rob, appreciate it. I do think Gio Reyna has to have a big game tonight. I agree with you on that one. I don't agree that just because we went down to 10 men, that game was over. That was a winnable game. You scored a great goal after it. And I think, Fowler and Balogun has scored in 2 straight games, and that was a big point of contention. Who's our striker? And that's really been a story that's buried now because of the fact that we're in the position we are against Uruguay tonight at 8 o'clock. Rob, thank you so much. All right, appreciate that from Rob. All right, so just to continue on, the navigation of the tournament, I'm hoping to see the U.S., and I've said this repeatedly, go into these tournaments so that we're not like the last World Cup. I mean, we played well in the first round, but by the time we get to the Netherlands in the knockout stages, we're gassed, right? I mean, the reason the Copa America is important is for tonight, to get games like this under pressure against the likes of an Uruguay. And this may have been the perfect coach, Greg Berhalter, for the younger U.S. players at the start of this cycle, right? But they may have outgrown him now. They may be more mature because of the clubs they're playing on. I will say they are more mature. And sometimes you might outgrow a coach. And maybe they need somebody in there who's a bigger personality. You can talk whatever you want, tactics, everything. But maybe they need now, at this point, a bigger personality, a name coach. And I know everybody's dropping Jurgen Klopp. Why wasn't Tata Martino interviewed after winning the title with Atlanta quickly in 2 years? He knew all the players in Major League Soccer. Why was he not interviewed? I mean, that's a joke, right? So maybe the time for the correct personality of a manager is now, regardless of what the result is tonight. And I don't want to be destroying the entire body of work because Greg Berhalter has done good things. We know that. But is he a right manager now? He may have been in the beginning. He may not be now. That's fair. That's fair. There you go. But maybe the team's flatlined a little after the World Cup. It sure has been up and down. I don't want us to go out in the group stages. I want us to get more games. I want us to get more matches and influence. I mean, think of the Olympics, how many years and how many games we missed getting tremendous experience in competition for our young players. And then you go out tonight, you lose opportunity to continue to grow the game in America in the mainstream media because they're not going to be as interested with the U.S. out. They're definitely going to be interested with Messi. But these are watershed moments, and the 2026 World Cup for U.S. soccer, for our national team, is going to be a watershed moment. All right, it's Marcelo Bielsa and Uruguay tonight. We're going to keep talking about that. We'll take a break here. Before we go to break here, quick word here for Little Patagonia Empanadas and Cafe. By the way, not only are they sponsoring this show, but they're also sponsoring my hit tomorrow up in Austin on 102.7 ESPN. They are in. Little Patagonia Empanadas is in Q2 Stadium, and people are buying them like crazy. And I think they have the chorp on there, too, which is a real traditional Argentine soccer food. Authentic. This is what we like, Guillermo. Authentic, right? Football.
Some football and some good food.
Oh, yeah. All right. It's all right. Big thanks to Sebastian Abraham, Little Patagonia Empanadas and Cafe, DanishInspirations.com for the best in modern contemporary furniture. And before we hit the break, don't forget, tune into the game tonight at Hugh O'Connor's Pub out on I-10. We'll take a break. We'll come back.
You're listening to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5.
And on ESPN 92.5.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
Another long throw, flicked on, and into the back of the net! A rescue! Jude Bellingham! It had to be him, didn't it? Amazing! Just amazing!
Yeah, it was amazing because they were about to go down to Slovakia, if not for another minute and a half. Overhead bicycle kick, Jude Bellingham. At that point, you go, okay, that's it. England's going to win this thing in extra time. They did. Slovakia, some of the Eastern European countries producing great team efforts in these Euros, just can't get it over the finish line. Same thing happened today with Slovenia and Portugal. 713-780-3776. Big thank you to LamontBrands.com. That's where you get the Soccer Matters T-shirts and hats. All the proceeds to the 501c charity, the Snowdrop Foundation. Also, we remind you about our great sponsors, John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm. DaspitLaw.com for the best personal injury attorneys you can get. 713-CALL-NOW. 713-CALL-NOW. John and his firm, keeping soccer on the air. Okay, we get back to it. Fowler and Balogun, I mentioned, 2 goals in 2 games. That has been a point of contention, the number 9 position. We have not been able to really get that figured out, and this has kind of been buried simply because the U.S. lost to Panama, but that's one of the good stories that has been around. All right, here's Greg Berhalter on facing Uruguay.
It's a well-drilled team, so I think regardless of who's on the sideline, it's going to be a very, very similar playing style, very similar patterns that they look to exploit. But for us, looking at Uruguay, they do a couple things just really, really high level. The intensity that they play with, the speed of what they play, how they maintain the intensity throughout the game is different level. If you look at the physical data, it's above and beyond other teams in this tournament. And then the second thing is counterattacking, transitioning. They win the ball, and immediately they're getting behind the back line. And that's something where, we need to be prepared for. We'll continue to look at video, continue to prepare the group.
So players like Ugarte, Valverde, Palestria, De La Cruz, Araujo, they're all trying to get the ball forward very, very quickly. Darwin Nunez, everybody knows who he is. Luis Suarez, by the way, is still on this town. So you heard Greg Berhalter talking about the data and the power and the fight that Uruguay has always shown. And that's in their makeup. It's an ethos that has been pretty much sort of a generational thing. I think of Diego Godin, the defender, every time I think of Uruguay. I don't think of an attacking player. I think of Diego Godin, who was just like a pillar defensively. But this is a part of their makeup. By the way, this is a country that's only got 3.5 million people, right? It's one of the smaller countries in the entire tournament. And then you think of the numbers and the size of our country in the United States. So here's Franco Israel. He's a backup goalkeeper. He was asked about the spirit and the belief of Uruguay. And here's what he said, and I'm going to just read this to you. He said, quote, "What a hard question. You're killing me." He then went, quote, "I don't know. It's something we carry since birth. Maybe because we generally have less opportunities, or because we come from much more precarious places, because we always have that hunger of always having to fight from adversity and to always have to fight for that place, always the competition itself." And it becomes a mantra in a smaller country. It becomes a mantra with the priority of one sport, no choices, no 3 other traditional sports. And this is why I love South American football and the Copa America. Here's Christian Pulisic on what the U.S. needs to do against Uruguay, the star striker for the U.S.
I think we have to play a really strong game. I know we have a good enough team that if we do that and put on a really good performance, it means coming out with intensity from the start, not letting emotions get the best of us, though, sticking to our game plan and trusting that we have a good enough team and that eventually over the 90 minutes we can grab a goal and go ahead and win the game. So I think we just need a really strong performance. The best game of our lives would be great, but that doesn't happen often.
So he's our leader. I love Christian Pulisic. Very humble, down to earth, is growing into a leader. So he's a great example. If we're all looking back now in our backwards, and we remember when this team got grouped together, it was accelerated by the fact that we didn't go to a World Cup. When Bruce Arena was coaching the team, we had that fateful night in Trinidad, which 24 hours later I said, man, here's the silver lining to this. This is a beautiful thing now, because now these younger guys, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic, they all can get their development accelerated quicker in the national team. You can sweep aside some of the guys now that have done wonderful things for a U.S. national team, but really their shelf life is up. And you always have that problem of, do we keep them? Do we not keep them? Do we let them go? Do they stay? It's a problem. This was a built-in excuse for U.S. soccer not qualifying to accelerate everybody. Greg Berhalter was the perfect coach probably then, players coach. But Christian Pulisic, you look at him now, he's different. He's more mature. He's been through that craziness at Chelsea. He fought for a place at Dortmund, went to Chelsea. Now he's come back to life and is in a more comfortable place playing in the Serie A with Milan. And you have to say, he's one of the ones who defended Berhalter after Qatar. But I think it's growing beyond the manager now. And a manager that might have been there in the beginning and is the perfect manager may not be the perfect manager a time period later, and may not be a perfect manager to take a team in a second cycle in a World Cup. It's fair to contemplate this. And if we're not contemplating this and talking about this, then we're not doing our jobs as journalists, quite frankly. 713-780-3776. By the way, without Sergiño Dest, the U.S. loses a lot of balance on the right side of the field in attack. But the one thing Pulisic said, you will have to match Uruguay's intensity. I don't care what 11 they put out there. Doesn't matter. You will have to match their intensity. And that's the first prerequisite to tonight against Uruguay. So this is going to be interesting. And I'm thinking that, and we don't have any lineups yet, but as long as Matt Turner's healthy, it's him. If not, it's Ethan Horvath, who, by the way, should have saved, in my opinion, that second goal against Panama. I know it's hit hard, you know, but it's right at him. Come on, you got to get your hands up. That's savable. So Anthony Robinson on the left. He's one of the best U.S. players. Game in and game out, gives it to you, gets up and down. He's got 3 lungs, perfect. Him and Pulisic are really good control on that side of the field. Got to go with the veteran Tim Ream. You got to go with Chris Richards. Richards needs a good night passing the ball under pressure. Joe Scally is going to remain, I think, as the right back. I think Yunus Musa has to come into midfield. You want his power. You want his fight against Uruguay. I think that's an easy one. Can Adams play a full 90 minutes? I think that's another big question tonight. Weston McKennie was probably the third one in midfield. And then what do you do with Reyna along with Pulisic and Balogun? You can't really play him out on the right because Scally's going to need a little protection there. So you might alter this a little bit with McKennie drifting a little bit more right and having some responsibility as well defensively. But Haji Wright could be somebody who could come in. But I think Gio Reyna's got to be there to calm the game down for us. I mean, that's our guy to do that. Him and Pulisic are our 2 best guys on the ball, frankly, as far as creatively and dangerously and hitting penetrating passes. Tyler Adams, can he go 90? I don't know. Folarin Balogun has scored 2 goals in 2 games. Everybody, that one got buried. That one got buried, right? We were wondering, who's our striker? You know, how many guys we've gone through. But Balogun right now is the man. And without Sergiño Dest, I mentioned, you really don't have a right-sided attack to balance off what is your strength, the left side. So we will see. Okay. Portugal went through on penalties today. Bernardo Silva would get the game-winning one. This was crazy against Slovenia.
He does! Portugal make it through on penalties.
Yeah, so there was a huge moment near the end of the game, and it was 0-0. And Slovenia was, by the way, they were warriors. Pepe lost the ball. Slovenian striker went in, and their goalkeeper, Portugal's goalkeeper, came out. His name's escaping me right now, and got into the head of the shooter.
Diego Costa was the goalkeeper for Portugal.
Costa. And Costa was great in the penalties as well. Costa came out and what I think got into the head of the Slovenian striker, who then decided to shoot from farther out. And Landon Donovan made the comment on the air as well. It was pretty obvious. He had to keep going forward and either try to round the goalkeeper. Now, I don't know if he was a dribbling type of player. He didn't look like it to me. So he kind of froze and panicked. But you have to give the goalkeeper Costa credit for getting out and I think getting into his head. France would get a goal from the leading goal scorer in the tournament, and that leading goal scorer's name is own goal, auto goal.
And it goes now to Kolo Muani. Shot on the turn, deflected in! France lead! Is that the big moment for them? Randall Kolo Muani!
France has been a bore. Belgium's been a bore. I'm sorry. Some of these games have been boring. I know you Europhiles out there don't like me saying that, but some of the games have been, there's we're going to get into it here in a second. All right, so time for a little bit of give and go, right?
So give and go this week, I give you some questions and then you go. But in the first question, are you ready, Glenn?
Okay, but I need more jump in your voice.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
So, who has impressed the most thus far in either the Euros or the Copa America?
So you're talking about a singular. Actually, you're probably talking about players.
Could be a player, could be a team.
I'm talking the overall team is really the story. I think Austria, Switzerland, they've been impressive. Ralph Ragnick's been impressive. These are teams that are well put together. I think the team theory has taken over. Sabitzer has been great in this tournament. Obviously, Spain and Germany, I think, are the keys. I would go Nico Williams, Copa America. I think Vinny Jr. came to life in the last game. Give a lot to Salomon Rondon of Venezuela. And then, of course, we'll see what Lautaro Martinez does with Leo Messi on Thursday for Argentina. But for the Euros, to me, I think it's the team element.
Yeah, definitely not one specific player, shining out and just dominating. In the next question, St. Louis ends up firing their coach, Bradley Carnell. Is this a trend in MLS right now?
Put that out today. Managers getting fired before the summer transfer window. I think it's pretty interesting. I guess it's a little bit in the vein of more demanding from ownership groups. But this is like the fourth or fifth guy. We saw Nico Estevez lose his job in Dallas. So it kind of goes against the trend of what MLS has done in the past.
Throwing some dynamo at you, what do you think about Hector Herrera making it to the All-Star team for the MLS?
Well, he was the MVP of the league to me last year. Now, I don't know. He's not there yet because of the injury, and I think that's still a big question mark. Look, when it's MLS against Liga MX, you got to have Hector Herrera there for the star quality. I would put for the Houston Dynamo either Griffin Dorsey or Mikael in the All-Star game before him, although Mikael had a little rough patch of 2 or 3 games. But I think from a consistency standpoint, Dorsey and Mikael have been excellent.
Yeah, the MLS All-Stars, I've talked about it before, just a bunch of big-name players trying to stay consistent. And then the last question that I have for you is, for tonight's match for the U.S. men's national team against Uruguay, do you think that there's any U.S. fans out there actually rooting against the U.S. so we see Greg Berhalter get fired?
It's a good one, and sadly, I think it's true. I do think there are people that would sacrifice advancing in this Copa America to see Greg Berhalter relieved of his duties as the head coach of the U.S. national team. It's going to be interesting how this plays out. The former U.S. men's national team player Eric Winalda had put something out on Twitter or X saying that regardless of what happens tonight, Greg Berhalter will remain as the coach. I don't know where he got that info, but, I think anything's possible with U.S. soccer. It's an organization sometimes that is hard to figure out. I'm always pulling for the U.S. I'd love to see this young team advance, come up with a sparkling result here tonight. Then you figure out your coaching situation if you think to make a change. But I want to see them continue to get games in the Copa America.
That will be doing it for Give and Go for this week.
All right. So you got the big U.S. game. We got Warren Barton coming up. A really good conversation with him about the Euros. He's on the call tomorrow of Romania and Netherlands. So you don't want to miss that one. Hugh O'Connor's Pub out on I-10 is a great place to watch both the Euros and the Copa America. It's in the Marquee Entertainment Center. They got a great whiskey offering, all kinds of beer out there. Hugh O'Connor's Pub out on I-10. Little Patagonia Empanadas right around the station here in Houston. Okay, but up in Austin, if you go to an Austin FC game, they're in Q2 Stadium. I mean, this is real authentic soccer food if you want to go that route. And I got news for you. If you're in from Argentina or you're an Argentina fan coming into Houston, get over to Little Patagonia Empanadas right off of Westheimer. They got a whole bunch of varieties. Guillermo's had them before. I should have brought some in today. We will on Wednesday when we come back for our 6 o'clock Central Soccer Matters again prior to the Argentina-Ecuador match. So big thank you to Little Patagonia Empanadas. Big thank you to our presenting sponsor, as always, John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm. Let's take a break, and then we'll go to Europe. We'll talk more Euros with Warren Barton of Fox. All right, welcome back to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5, as always, presented by John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm. Big thanks to John and his firm. Without John and his firm, we're not talking about the Euros. We're not talking about Copa America, the Dynamo, and the sport in general. So if you need a personal injury attorney, it's the Daspit Law Firm, daspitlaw.com, 713-call now. We go right to Munich, Germany. Great friend. I've had the privilege of calling games with him. He's a former Newcastle defender. He has put on the England shirt himself, and he's one of the analysts over at the Euros in Germany. We go to Munich. He is Warren Barton. Warren, thanks so much for coming on. This is a real treat to get you on.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure, Glenn. It's been a fantastic tournament so far. The fans here have been brilliant. We've been lucky enough to be in Cologne. We've gone up to Hamburg, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, Bayern. Now we're obviously in München, and as they call it here, and we've made up to Berlin. So we've done a lot of traveling, but it's been a fantastic tournament.
All right. Now, I know for everybody out there, Warren has the Romania-Netherlands game tomorrow. We are going to touch on that as a bit of a preview here, but I want to get quickly to England. You've represented the English national team in the past. You've played in the Premier League with Newcastle. England's been taking a lot of stick from their own countrymen, and they have an opportunity after Jude Bellingham bailed them out against Slovakia to kind of rewrite the narrative now, right?
They have, Glenn, and I thought they was going to do that after the group stages because it wasn't wonderful soccer, didn't play to our potential. And the pressure is building. You said about wearing an England shirt, and it is noticeable that there's pressure playing for Newcastle, which I did for nearly 8 years. But when you put that England shirt on the three lines, but so Brazil do it, Argentina do it, the Germans do it, but it comes with a lot of expectation. And I think this year in particular, because last tournament we got to the final and had a good opportunity against the Italians, let them back into the game, and great credit to the Italians, went on and be the champions. This time round, you think with the firepower that we've got, the team that we've got, and obviously Gareth has gained experience, but there's so much pressure on these players. They should be playing better. Yes, there is injuries particularly on the left back and left area side of the field, but listen, we should be playing a lot better. Gareth should be, maybe making substitutions a little bit earlier. Tactics. I played with Gareth, getting ready for Euro 96. So I know him well. He's very, very loyal to his players. He's very loyal to his system. But we've sneaked through with two wonderful individual goals from Jude Bellingham, the first one, obviously, and then Harry Kane doing what he does best. Glenn, I'd love to think there was a reaction now to go back and to analyse, but I thought that was going to happen in the group stages. It didn't happen last night, but thank God we was able to get through, lick our wounds and go again. But the Swiss, I did the Swiss game against Italy at the weekend in Bayern, in Berlin, and they're a wonderful team, well coached, three at the back system, know exactly what they're doing. Xhaka in midfield was pulling all the strings, and the Italians had no answer to them. So if England don't wake up big time, they're going to come home. It may not be today, but it's going to be at the weekend because we need to play a lot better against a very, very good Swiss team.
And the Swiss, very well drilled. I watched that game you did. That was a very impressive performance from them. We're talking to Warren Barton. He's a Fox analyst. We're talking about England right now. I mean, the lack of cohesion. I mean, it's easy to go to, look, all these players are coming in after long seasons. We're going to expect some lack of fluidity, but how much, where can we really draw the line on this is how accountable the manager is, this is how accountable the players are, or is that even possible?
No, I do, Glenn. I think it's 70% him as a coach. Like when he said about we're missing Calvin Phillips. Well, as a coach, you're supposed to find a recipe for success with doing that. I mean, you've got the Premier League's best player, Foden, the Liga's best player, Jude Bellingham, and Germany's top goal scorer, Harry Kane. And they've looked to shadow themselves. The backward passing, keeping. So the tactics is down to Gareth. He's got the team and he gives them an identity. Him and Steve Holland, we did our pro license together, me and Steve Holland, many, many years ago. So he's been through the system and understand the success we've had. As I said, in the last Euros, we got to the final. Russia World Cup, we've got to the semi-finals. But both of them games, we got out-coached and the system. And the players should take some credit, should take some responsibility as well for that last 20, 30%, because you're out there in a game, finding out a lot of these players have played a lot of international football. So it's not all down to the coach, but a large part of it is to motivate the players, get the players going. As I said, there's a lot of pressure. It doesn't help when other ex-captain and players come out in the media and just say, we are S. Now, give some substance. Don't just say we're a four-letter word. I can't say it on that, but you're just this. Why are we so bad? I think because we get Declan Rice coming too deep. He wasn't doing that for Arsenal. We're not passing the ball forward with purpose like the Spanish players are doing. They're passing it forward. It's not ticky-tack no more. They pass with purpose. So give me a reason why. Gary's, they've been there. They've been England captains. Don't just go on media and say, well, we're this. Why are we this? We're not passing the ball quickly. The movement up front's not good enough. We haven't maybe got pace, so maybe make some substitution. That's what I think we need to do. We need to play our football and play. I went for every emotion last night, really looking forward to the game. Frustration. At one point, I think I'm going to turn it off because this is nowhere near good enough. And then euphoria when we get the bike. And then once we got the goal, the bicycle kick from Jude Bellingham, I knew we was going to go on and win it because momentum, Glenn, you played in the game. Once you get that little bit of momentum, they're gone. We'd knocked them out. We've got the Harry Kane goal and then the rest is history. So you just hope that you learn from that as a group of players. But, Gareth should take a lot of responsibility, which he does. He goes on and takes that as well. And the players have to take responsibility. It's not just one person that has to hold their hands up. It's a group. But we're through. And I'm hoping now there will be another response because there's going to have to be. Because this Swiss team, they've played a lot of games together. I think 7 of their 11 have played every game in this tournament so far and totally blew the Italians away tactically. Style, every asset to the game, those far better than the Italians.
Warren Barton, former Newcastle defender over in Germany with Fox, has the Romania-Netherlands game tomorrow. And just real quick on Slovakia, I think they deserve a little bit of credit because highly well organized. I think Slovakia's coach outcoached Gareth Southgate. And we do have to give them, I think, a little ounce of credit here in what happened, if not for Bellingham bailing out England.
Yeah, no, I mean, I watched them throughout the tournament and I did a few articles as well. That midfield three was excellent. The back four was solid. Centre players that are playing at a high level at PSG. They, again, have a system that suits them. And it was no freak that they got the goal in between our centre-halves, a little bit of lack of communication, and they took their chances. I warned everybody how good they are. The only problem they had is up front. They didn't really have too many problems and people to change up front. But they was a very good team. You're in the European Championship, so every game is going to be tough. I did the Romania game, and there's some good players, well organised, good coaches. So you've got to be at your best. There's no easy games here, unless you play England. Unless you play England, then you get an easy game.
Well, there's not an easy one for the U.S. coming up in a matter of minutes against Uruguay. So let's just quickly get into them and your thoughts on the U.S. It's another manager under fire in Greg Berhalter. It's a U.S. that lost its mind emotionally. Everybody knew what was coming against Panama, the physical game, trying to bait the U.S. into taking cards. And and having someone sent off, and that's exactly what happened. So I think we're as disappointed as maybe English fans are here in the United States.
Yeah, Glenn, you're right. Obviously, I've been in the States now for 16 years, US citizen, so they're close to my heart, and I want them to do well, Greg. And this, we keep calling this golden generation that's coming through. They should know that. I mean, where although he's a young player, he's got vastly experienced people around him. He knows the game. He's got a lot to answer for in that respect. But you can't just go for the young player and throw the kid under the bus. It was a team effort. They put themselves in a situation. Greg is under a lot of pressure from not only inside the camp but outside as well. And it's a huge game. Uruguay, obviously, top of the group. They may rest one or two players, but I still believe in the US if they go out and perform. But that pressure does strange things. And it's, the first time in a long time where I think this group of players have felt a lot of pressure. When it didn't happen with, obviously, Bruce going to the last World Cup, there was a huge disappointment. They got over that and went to Qatar, but now it's a big moment for this group of players and for Greg, because if you don't, and never we want anyone to lose their job, but I think it'd be very, very difficult for someone to hold on to it. You've seen Mexico go out in a whimper, and now obviously the US need to go out there, and I believe they will do, but it's going to be nerve-wracking because with Uruguay got very experienced players, but it just shows you how much the game has grown, Glenn. We've been in, as I said, 15, 16 years. A few years, it would have been, it doesn't really. It does matter now. It's a big, big thing for this group of players. We've seen, with the women, how far they've took the game and how far they've gone forward. And when they don't perform well, they come under a lot of scrutiny in the last World Cup. So, the pressure's out there. There'll be a lot of people watching this game. And hopefully, as I said, the boys can come through, get a good result. Glenn, no, it's just about the result now. It's not about a performance. It's just about winning games. We want beautiful football and all this, which is so romantic. But the gloves are off, and it's winning the game now.
Is it disturbing to you that you don't see a level of consistency with the U.S. national team? You mentioned it. When Bruce Arena and the U.S. didn't qualify for that World Cup, it accelerated this generation of young players that are playing at bigger clubs than we've ever had before in Europe. But it always seems like it's one step forward and one step back. And now it's, again, our opportunity here to respond against Uruguay and save our Copa America here 2 years before, we host the World Cup in this country. But is that something that I really look at, is the ascendancy of the team, the consistency, and is it generally on the rise? I don't see that. It's always one step forward and one back.
No, you're right. And I have a lot of friends that have been involved. Tab Ramos comes to mind, Tony Meona, these people, Eric Ronaldo, that generation of players that went through so much and didn't have the luxury of these players, of what they've got today with the modern game. And then you throw in the likes of Brian McBride, Quint Dempsey, Landon Donovan, that I've been lucky enough to work with and be around these guys. They want them to do so well, but you have to take responsibility as a player when you're playing international football and take this team. Talk is cheap. We get caught up at the moment. Oh, they're young, they're learning. No. The time's off now. You have to perform at a consistent level. We keep saying how good these generation are. Believe me, these ex-players don't want to be out there saying what they're saying. But particularly someone like Tab, who's coached and been at a high level, and Tony as well, Brian McBride, these players, they want them to do well. But you've got to go out there and perform at the highest level. Don't keep shouting behind that. Oh, well, we're learning the game. The game is not new. It's been going on for a long, long time in the US. And a lot of people have done a lot of work. Kylie Lloyd, who I speak to about the game and look at the game. The game's evolved so much. They've got so much going forward to it. It's about delivering. They did it each time in their generation. It's about time these lot start delivering as well, because the group of fans that we've got in MLS, NWSL, the fans are going to stadiums, the owners, the money. They have the responsibility, the national team players, to drag them forward as well. So don't keep saying, well, it was different then. It wasn't. Everyone had to go through different obstacles and different hurdles. Now it's about delivering. And this lot have got to start delivering now.
I think the narrative of this is a young team, I think that's thrown out the window. These guys are mature now. Yeah. They're mature now. So
look at the kid at Spain. He's 16 years of age. The kid at Spain. Yeah. Do you think he's doing his homework at a European Championship? Do you think he goes behind and says, well, we don't have resources, we're not far? Don't give me all that. That's an excuse.
So I offer this theory up. okay, as these guys have now matured since Greg first took this team over, have they maybe outgrown him potentially? Have their maturity, maybe he was the perfect coach for them when he first took over the national team, but maybe their ascent and maturity now, is he still getting through to them? I mean, we're not at training sessions, but I'm wondering, have these players gotten a little bit too comfortable with the manager?
Glenn, that's a fantastic point, because these players are going out to coaches all over the world. And I know Greg, and I like that you have to evolve. You have to keep pushing forward. The same voice cannot have the effect it maybe did a year ago. I wouldn't want to say that to Greg, but I do understand that question. And I think that is a chance where they maybe need someone who's going to light a switch on them, who's going to challenge him a certain way, who's been in that situation, who's done things that they've been able to do. So, yeah, I think that's quite a valid point that would have to be addressed as a group of players, and he'll have to take responsibility. It doesn't mean that he hasn't played at a higher level, but you have to keep challenging your players. I remember when Arsene Wenger went to Arsenal, never played at a high level, but what he did to people that have played, he challenged them mentally as a soccer player. Can they do that? If it's just the substance that keeps going on and on, it doesn't grab you as a player, and you sort of let it go in one ear and out the other. And when that starts happening as a coach, whatever level of coaching, you're on slippery slope there, because the players are not engaged with it. You see a little bit of that with the situation they had in Qatar. Not playing it. Why is he not playing? That may be fueling the fire a little bit as well.
He's Warren Barton. All right, Warren, you got the Netherlands tomorrow. Heavy favorites over Romania. Romania's in their first knockout match since 2000 in the Euros. We remember the years of Hadji in the World Cup in the U.S. Jordanescu seems to be getting as much out of these guys as he can, but I think they're running into a buzzsaw with the Netherlands. What do you say?
I think it may suit them playing against the Netherlands, because they've not been, I did them against Austria. And again, another coach, Rangnick, who got ridiculed at Manchester United, wasn't good enough. But tactically, he's been brilliant. In Germany, they love him. They call him the Godfather. Outthinking the Ronald Koeman. He actually made a substitution after 32 minutes in midfield. So the Netherlands are not a full team of what we would have think in our time, Glenn, with the likes of, Patrick Kluivert, Ruud Gullit, Van Basten, these wonderful generation of players. These are a little bit short, but you still think it's the Netherlands. They have great support, wonderful players. Romania don't mind being the underdog. They don't mind. They showed in the opening game against Ukraine the goals they've got. They're quite determined to be organised. A lot of their players, again, have played at most of their group stage games. A little bit of lacking firepower. Don't create many chances, but if they can and take their chances, I think it'd be a tactical game. It wouldn't surprise me if it goes to extra time. But all the pressure is on Ronald Koeman, because he's getting a lot of criticism from back home as well, because of the expectations, because of what they've done. But Romania have got a Hadji themselves, got the young son who had a very good game in their last game out. So they've got some exciting players, but it's going to be a tough ask. But I think it's going to be a tight game as well.
Yeah, the thing that I've seen is that Jordanescu, having watched Romania prior to this, I always wonder about them from the standpoint of matching up to some of the stronger physical European teams. He seems to be getting a lot out of them physically. Now, whether he can do that again, but to your point, Gakpo, Depay, Ake, Van Dijk, I mean, these are guys playing on major clubs all over the place.
Yeah, and their words was after they can't remember playing as poor as they did in their last game. So I'm sure there'll be a response from there. There'll be great support. You've seen it on the television with the Dutch fans coming along. Although when we did their last game, Romania, there was Romanian fans everywhere. As I said, I've got a good friend of mine whose wife's going to be watching it. They're in Florida, so they'll be watching them on. So it's going to be a colourful game. I don't think it's going to be one for the faint-hearted, but as you rightly said, there's a lot of quality on the Dutch team. It's difficult Dutch is putting it together. There's a big saying that Ruud Gullit used to tell me at Newcastle: if it's not much, it's not Dutch. So we'll see how good that is on Tuesday. So we'll see how good they are then on Tuesday.
Perfect way to end it. Listen, have a great call. Romania, Netherlands tomorrow. You can catch Warren Barton on there. He's one of the best in the business. He's always schooled. He's always up on it. And he's always a great interview. Warren, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your time in Germany.
Great pleasure, Glenn. Good luck, my friend.
All right, that's Warren Barton. There he goes, former Newcastle defender, put on the England shirt as well. Fox analyst. That does it tonight for us. DaspitLaw.com, 713 call now. Podcast of this show, Spotify, Apple, Google. You can get it right here at ESPN975.com. I know everybody's getting ready for the big one with Lionel Messi and Argentina taking on Ecuador on Thursday. We'll see you out there. And until Wednesday, 6 o'clock Central, we'll preview that game. Remember, soccer matters.